Welcome to Famous Graves Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Knox. I wanted to say that it has been raining. It snowed in Los Angeles, the northern part, and I did enjoy that. Even though it rarely ever snows off the 14 freeway, everybody at the office was still telling everybody to come in. It's okay, since nobody knows how to drive in LA, and everybody crashes when it lightly rains, but now that it snows, you still got to come into the office. But we got some more rain today, and even though California does nothing to trap any of that rain, everybody just repeats, we really need it. We really need all this rain so that it can go into the ocean. Speaking of the ocean, there was a man in Argentina that went missing after riding his ATV on a coastal route. I think Argentina is a very beautiful place, and apparently this man was 32 and they couldn't find him, and he wound up inside of a shark. And that brings me to sharks are dangerous, and I know we always talk about how wonderful they are, and every time a surfer gets attacked or somebody diver gets attacked or somebody gets attacked, everybody's first knee-jerk reaction is that we're in their environment and sharks are friendly. And here's a great example of sharks aren't friendly. They're eating ATV drivers in Argentina. The Tennessee Titans dumped Taylor Lewin's possessions onto his front porch in 2 trash bags, and he said that it didn't bother him and called them golden suitcases. But the left tackle there had spent quite a few years with the Tennessee Titans, and I just think it points out even when you make it to the professional level, which is extremely hard, it's like winning the lottery, except that you're really good at sports. And then you work hard for this, you make millions of dollars for this team. No matter what it is in life, some way or another, that company or business is always going to treat you like garbage. And I know he says it doesn't bother him, but I think it could have, been handled a little bit different. I'm sure they were like, hey, Carl, could you go dump this guy's belongings over at his house? And so Carl doesn't know any better, and he just puts everything in a garbage bag and tosses them on the front porch. But again, that goes back to we as humans, which is also surprising for Tennessee. But I think most part for human beings these days is lack empathy for other people. And this should be a lesson to be empathetic to people, especially people who are no longer playing on the Tennessee Titans. And in basketball, Vanessa Bryant, the wife of Kobe Bryant, settled in Los Angeles for the helicopter accident crash. She got supposedly $28 million. Now, I know about court cases, and I know a lot of times they throw out these numbers, and then it's never really the case of that person getting that amount of money. But I believe her lawsuit was that there were some law enforcement that traded photographs of the crash, which that's what law enforcement does. The minute that they get, that's basically how they handle their stress, is the minute they get to an accident, they take photos and then they pass them around. So I think $28 million is way more than I ever thought. I was thinking maybe like, I don't know, $2 million. But again, none of these people care. It's just taxpayer money anyway. It's just this big trough of money that keeps flowing in. And then when public servants do stupid things, we, the taxpayer, end up paying for it. So if anybody's to blame here, it's LA County again. LA County seems to get blamed for quite a few things. But this one I agree with. A woman with tuberculosis was arrested this Friday. Apparently they're going to drug her because she's refusing treatment for her tuberculosis, and been told many times, and she's just been going around infecting everybody. But this is what I don't... first of all, I'm surprised that they even care about tuberculosis. Second of all, you've got millions of people just flooding across everywhere, and so now you're going to make an example out of this lady. So it's just bizarre that go for it, because you should not be spreading tuberculosis. I do understand that, but I don't know. Shouldn't we have already been eradicated tuberculosis by now? I feel that in 2023, why are we having outbreaks of TB? I don't know. It seems like, it seems like your grandfather's disease or something. Very odd. Atlanta's wealthiest suburb wants to succeed from the rest of Atlanta because Atlanta is being so crime-ridden because of policies with politicians. This is the city of Buckhead, and I guess they vote on that tomorrow, whether or not they're going to divorce themselves. And I've got to say, good for you. More places should do that because, like where I live, is connected to LA County, and I don't get to vote for any of those people, but they get to vote for me. And one of my big things is that they voted to outlaw plastic bags at grocery stores, but then told us we have to pay for grocery bags at stores, and now I'm charged 10 cents for a bag that's 3 times bigger than the one that I had before, and I can never open the things anymore. It's so much easier with these thin plastic bags to open them before, and then I would reuse them because they were so compact and easy. And that's just one of the little examples of why these places are trying to succeed from other cities. And I knew that it was going to come to this anyways, because that's what happens when you treat your city like absolute crap. And it's like the rain in Los Angeles the last couple of days has just like stricken all of the roads with potholes. And it's like all of this cemented concrete just disintegrates within rain. It's so odd to me. Come up with a better plan there, LA County, I don't know, transportation. But when it rains, potholes shouldn't just magically appear because of the water. I get the science behind it, but come up with a better concentration of something, or something that you can give to me that I'll go fill the pothole for you. Because the amount of potholes that sprung up overnight because of this rain has just gotten me absolutely baffled, to be honest, quite honest. The Chicago mayor looks like she lost her race there. And she was up for re-election again, and that's another city there, Chicago. I think the big problem with Chicago is that there's been so much corruption for its entire lifetime that I really don't see them ever getting out of it. But just so much crime and so much bad politics, and I really do think it rivals. It's like it rivals Los Angeles and New York as just the epicenter of just politics, not in the best interest of people. It could be so much better, and it's not. A Maryland man who is 52 is suing his local bar, stating the restaurant is called Dan's Restaurant, but he's stating that they kicked him out of there because he's a creepy white guy. And when I immediately read this story, my thought was, you're a 52 guy, you don't need to be hanging out at a bar. But his response is, well, yeah, I'm 52, but I spend at least $500 a week in this place, and they should honor me and not be racist towards me. And I'm thinking, I don't think they're racist to you at all. I think when you drink, you're probably a total jackass, and you're in there $500 a week. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of time spent in a bar at 52 years old. You're 30 years past your prime. I don't think you're going to win this lawsuit. I feel 100% about this is that you're exaggerating what's going on, because a bar can kick you out for any reason whatsoever. If you like to go into a place and you like to drink, I'm sure you're going to make a comment that pisses somebody off, especially when you're a 52-year-old guy and there's 22-year-olds in there that think you're a creepy 52-year-old guy. That's all I'm saying. Also in the news this week, my mother turned 87, and I said, Mom, where do you want to go because you're 87? And she's also a leap year baby, which means that I guess she's like 22, because leap year is February 29th, but that only comes every 4 years. So it was today, the 28th. And she wanted to go to Red Robin. And I've never been to... I think I've been to Red Robin, but I don't think I've been at that Red Robin. And I got to tell you, steak fries, I love them. Right off the bat, I enjoyed Red Robin. And I wish they would have sliders, though. I like smaller hamburgers. But other than that, she wanted to go to Red Robin. We went to Red Robin. Hopefully, that's how it's going to be when I'm 87. I want to go to Red Robin too. Got her a one of those. I guess it's a massage. I don't know. It rolls on. I don't like. It's like 6 feet that goes on the floor. But basically, it's got a good lumbar system for your back. I got one. I thought, you know what? You're 87. You're probably gonna want one too. So happy birthday, there, Mom. I want to give a quote here from Charles Darwin. He says, "At some stage, the human species will divide. Most will continue to evolve. A minority of those lacking the intellectual capacity of thought will develop as a subspecies, being easily led, form into packs, attempting to control the majority. They will deny biology, attempt to undo the centuries of human development by rewriting history, and gradually revert to their primate origins. They will expect all to conform to their point of view." Wow, that sounds good for you, Chuck Darwin. That is a nice thing that you said there. That is crazy. Getting back to Los Angeles politics. Our new mayor says that she's going to root out the crazy people in the LAPD. And I've got to say, if that's where you start off with your rhetoric for the LAPD, which, again, look back at the LAPD, look back at Chicago, whatever it is. The LAPD's had a long history of corruption in the police department. And the entire police force left like in the 30s and all moved to Mexico. And I don't think that you're going to change by saying that you want to clamp down even more. You took money away from them. They do a horrible job. How do I know this? I've worked in law enforcement. I've stood in West Valley's LAPD's station trying to get help. Couldn't get any help. Just horrible community service because they're trained. They have horrible training, and their training is just to arrest people. It's not to actually serve people in the community. They don't know what they're doing because the politicians don't want to back them up, and that's what the politicians should be doing, is backing them up, and they're not doing that. They're just criticizing them. So great start to our new mayor there, bashing LAPD. But in Mexico, the president of Mexico has confirmed, I thought it was a chupacabra, but apparently they have another mythical creature there, but he tweeted that this is not a joke. It appears that this is real, and it is the legend of Sleepy Hollow. No, it's not. It's, am I saying that right? Aluxe, Aluxe, but it basically looks like my grandmother. It does look like there's some eyes there, so it looks like it's a black and white photo. It does look like an old lady in a tree with long gray hair and eyes that are flashing. Looks like she's basically gripping like the stump of the tree. So definitely a creepy picture, but then at the same time, nobody's making contact with, I'm just going to call her Alex. So nobody's making contact. It's just taking a picture and then saying this is real. And that's what I have a problem with, because it could just be a tree. It could just be some branches. It's not a color photo. It's not video. We're not going up there and asking, what's your favorite Starbucks drink? Do you like hamburgers, French fries? What is it that you like to eat? What does I would say, I'm more like, are you related to the chupacabra? Do you know the chupacabra? Do you guys have like coffee together? Maybe a light lunch? I'm not too sure, but there needs to be more investigative journalism, and there isn't. And that's what we are lacking here. And I think we can all do our investigative journalism ourselves by Googling things, which is what I like to do randomly. But I was thinking the other day, like, how did the stock exchange start? Because all of our money basically goes back to, you always hear people, all these money people are like, I bought mutual funds. But you're like, okay, but which ones? And they never tell you what it is. And so I was curious when the New York Stock Exchange started, and it actually started in May 17th. So if you're born on May 17th, you're a Taurus. 1792, outside of 68 Wall Street under a buttonwood tree. Now, I didn't Google this part, but I wonder if that buttonwood tree is still there. I didn't Google what a buttonwood tree looks like because I don't know. I did Google Wall Street at one time, and it said that there was actually a wall there, and it was to keep like invaders out, because I guess the city was so like chopped up that they were fighting each other. And then I was also, New York's got a great history, especially in Manhattan, because Manhattan was purchased from the Indians there for like a Pez necklace, and 54 cents, something very crazy cheap. And then I was thinking, like, those Pez necklaces, they're so colorful, except that when you do eat them, it's kind of like a sugary chalk taste. They're not very good. It just looks good on your neck. And then when you eat those things, then you've got like drool on a string, and then it's like hard to take off because then you're getting that drool in your eyes. And it's more of I'd say it's like a fantasy candy. It's the great idea, whoever made it, but they come up with something better. And I just don't think that we've broadened our horizon on that one. Definitely come up with a better one. But I also enjoyed reading about, so there were 24 stockbrokers and merchants. So basically, Bob's Hardware, whatever, you've got Chuck's Feed and Seed store over there. Then you've got these other guys that are trying to sell stocks. So think about, you're trying to sell stocks before there's even a stock market. I mean, just people randomly, hey, you want to buy some stocks? And you're like, well, what are stocks? Oh, that's a piece of this company over here. So it's this piece. So I give you some money and you give me a piece of parchment? Oh, yeah. So the progression of the stock market over the years, of how many Ponzi schemes there's been, how many times people have just, flat out just lied like a Madoff. So I find it very interesting about the stock market, where we're always told to put our stock market or money into the stock market, and then it's constantly stolen from or manipulated or something. And all anybody ever tells you is just put more money into the stock market. That's what you got to do. There's never anything else from any of these professionals. And we've been doing this for hundreds of years. And that always fascinates me, is when this stuff started, it was always just a group of guys, girls, whatever, getting together. And it was a way for us to monopolize on everything. And that's what it looks like to me from the stock market, and nothing is ever going to change, because everything all of our money just goes right back to New York. That's why New York really is the center of the universe for our country, because that's where the money is. And speaking of money, I've noticed that because of the fact that none of us can survive anymore because of this fake inflation, that the food's gotten 3 times more expensive, but the food item things have like shrunk. Like a couple years ago, they shrunk wine bottles and never said anything. And I didn't really care because I don't really drink wine. But then the other day I walked into the store, and I don't like bottles. I like cans, and I like Coke. I don't like Pepsi. I like Pepsi's advertising and marketing. They've done a great job. The 80s, there was the cola wars between Pepsi. I would drink Pepsi then, but I just like the taste of Coke better, and it's got to be in a can or fountain style. I don't like bottles for some reason. If I do get the bottles, most of the places, like liquor stores, don't have the bottles, or they don't have cans. So I'll get the bottle, I'll take it home, and then I'll put it on ice, but very rarely. So I noticed 2 days ago that now the Coca-Cola bottles have shrunk. So it still says 16.9 whatever ounces, but it's slimmer. It's like the Coke went on a keto diet. The Coke bottle went on a keto diet and slimmed down. And I Googled it, and sure enough, shrinkflation is what Coca-Cola is calling it. And they need to they need to cut costs and throw it back on the little guy like Mike Knox. And he's got to now have a smaller bottle in his hand. And then, I was thinking, like, soda and sports always play together. And I was thinking to the time when baseball player George Brett, a lot of people probably don't remember him now, but he was, I had his baseball cards. He was pretty big there in the 80s. So in 1983, the Royals were playing the New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium. It was in July. And there's 2 outs, and the team's trailing 4-3. George Brett gets up there, and he hits a 2-run home run off of Goose. I can't remember the Goose's last name, but I just remember Goose was the pitcher. And then the managers just run out, and they're like, Brett's using too much pad tower. And I never knew what the hell they were talking about. I'm still not really too sure what it is that they're talking about. But that was in 1983. And then they they throw him out of the game. So then the Yankees win that game. Well, then George Brett, runs out of the dugout. He wants to like kung fu fight everybody, and they're like holding him back with chokeholds, and he wants to attack like the umps and everything. And then they basically negotiate it a couple days later or whatever, and then they play the game. I don't know, like 80 days later, something like that. And then, of course, George Brett ends up winning again because he was a great baseball player. But it basically so the pine tar is like the sap. And when you get the sticky on your hand, and basically, as I recall, you could get a better swing, a better hit because your hands aren't going to vibrate. You're going to get a better grip on there. So the pine tar could only be at a certain level on the bat, even though pine tar is coming from wood anyways, which is what the bat's made out of. And I don't think anybody would care anymore, but basically for years, because we didn't have the internet, that's all we talked about was George Brett and his pine tar. And, hopefully they gave him a bunch of accolades, and I'm sure everybody forgot about that, but I just remember that was like the top of a conversation. He cheated! Oh my God, he cheated! And now nobody cares if you're taking roids and playing baseball. Nobody cares anymore. There was some... Back to Chicago, I forgot about this, but so now all these states, including, they just did this in Los Angeles or California, but they want the inmates in the prisons to be able to vote. And the inmates were saying in Chicago that they were getting pressured to vote, cast their votes illegally for Lori Lightfoot's election, but she lost today. But I just think I just got to tell you, you're letting inmates vote, first of all, and then you're shocked that somebody's going to tell them who to vote for. I mean, come on, you can't be that naive. It's too much. And also, speaking of being naive, I've been following the Alex Murdaugh case. Is basically this guy just slaughtered his entire family because he was a greedy drug addict, and admitted to everything. As far as I read, he admitted to everything. I know you're innocent until proven guilty, but now he's on the stand trying to get out of it. And apparently his brother went on the stand and said that he helped clean up his dead nephew in the kennel stalls where his father had shot him and his mom. But his brother was like, I just felt so indebted to my brother that I wanted to help him, cover up this murder there. I mean, talk about just craziness and dysfunction of a family, and the length of... I hear this, too, in a lot of my, writing courses that I take, is, wealthy people would never do that because they're rich. No, wealthy people do that all the time. They just do it a different way. They get their brother to help out there and clean out their kennels. But I got to tell you, I'll be very surprised. Usually money will get you out of your court problems, but I don't see it for this guy, especially when you kill your own family. I don't, whatever religion that you're into, hopefully there is a special place for that guy that kills his own family. I mean, there's no need for... That's what bankruptcy is for, because he was, apparently stealing from everybody because he had a drug problem. File for bankruptcy there next time there, guy. So in Tennessee, my disclaimer here is I don't live in Tennessee. I don't really care what's going on, but they have a drag queen bill basically banning drag queen shows being obscene for children. So I totally get that. But what I think is funny is that the Tennessee governor, somebody's found his high school yearbook where he's dressed as a woman. And, I mean, you just can't make this stuff up in politics. And so his response is, well, that's different. It's just lightheartedness. And I don't think anybody who dressed as... Because what they would do in high school, I remember this, was... I'm sure this is very normal, was the... football players would dress as the cheerleaders, and the cheerleaders would dress as the football players, vice versa. And then the principal would be like, hey, you're not allowed to be, don't say anything awful about the person that you're dressed up as, which you had to tell, teenagers that. Otherwise, they'd take it too far. But now somebody's taking a photo of you, they put it in the yearbook, and here we are 30, 40 years later, whatever, whenever this guy, when was that, like the 70s or something? I don't think nobody could have ever thought that it would wind up anybody seeing it. It'd wind up on the internet, anything like that, because the internet didn't exist. It wasn't anybody's thought process. So just for anybody, time travelers out there, to be able to go back in time, warn all those people that the internet is going to catch up with you. And that is what that's what the takeaway for me here is, of the internet is going to get you. And it also got this other lady, which is very odd. So apparently, this woman has been accused of race faking herself as a Muslim. And she was like in charge of, like, she was an inclusion officer at a Quaker funded social justice firm, which I didn't even know existed. I'm going to say that again. Inclusion officer at a Quaker funded social justice firm. Basically lying about her heritage, saying that, she had, and basically they have pictures of her. She's got a little bowl cut there, and with her white parents, and her white parents are like, "No, we're white," and then she's like, "No, I'm not. I hate you." It's very fascinating to me that we kind of all, if we didn't get that love in some sort of way, then we want some sort of identity for something. So whatever it is, whatever your identity is lacking onto, or I'm a baseball player, I'm a bartender, I'm an actor, whatever it is we identify to. And this kind of became this woman's job, was to identify and to live this other life. Because obviously she wasn't talking to her family, so she has had some sort of family issues. But then again, with the internet, she got caught, and somebody was even saying that there's a book about exactly what she was doing, so they've been trying to, like, nail her for quite some time. But she even posted how she did her Ancestry.com, or she did some sort of heritage thing where it came back where she was 100% a queen. So just to me, very interesting, because without the internet, you would have never heard about this lady. You would have never heard about what it is she was doing. I kind of think you'd never hear either about Jeffrey Epstein without the internet, because that would have been squashed. And you wouldn't have heard about Giselle Maxwell. And so she's 61, and so she's in prison for 20 years. And she wants her conviction overturned because she's claiming inhumane prison conditions. And all she's saying is she's exhausted and sleep deprived. And I've just got to tell you, I think that's what you would be, sentenced 20 years, never being in prison ever. That, you probably would be sleep deprived and exhausted. But isn't that what you're supposed to get when you're sentenced for a crime? And so in this case, I really think she's reaching, because just here's some advice. If you do go to prison, just know that ask for a single cell, so you're safe, you're by yourself, and get yourself a medication, because they're going to get, all your health care is right there, and just get some sleep medication. You'll be able to sleep, 18 hours a day. You wake up, you get something to eat, you go back to sleep. And I would see that when I worked in a prison, and I always thought that's the way to go. You just sleep your way, because it's just time. They call that, it's your state time. You're doing your state time. And she's probably going to get out in 10 years anyways, because you do day for day. And so they're certainly not going to overturn her. She's got to come up with a better excuse, because it's all about coming up with excuses. And it just seems to me like that lawyer is not doing a very good job. Because let's be honest, that's the only thing that you can come up with, that you're sleep deprived day. And it is Lon Chaney, the man of 1,000 faces. Probably a lot of people don't know who he is, because he died in 1930, but he was born April 1st, 1883. The reason that they call him the man of 1,000 faces was because he could change his face into 1,000 different ways. And you kind of look at it now, and it's like, it was the forefront of movies, basically movie monsters. I kind of got a chuckle, because it's just like he's making a lot of, he's making a lot of faces like Jim Carrey. But so I would say he was the forefather of the crazy face. He was born Leonidas Frank Lon Chaney, April 1883. And he was an actor and regarded as one of the most versatile and powerful actors of cinema, renowned for his characters of tortured, grotesque, and afflicted characters, groundbreaking artistry with makeup. So he had like a makeup bag that he would carry around with him, and a lot of times he was doing his own makeup. And again, it's the beginning of film making, so you're doing it all when you're the actor. He was known for starring in roles in silent horror films, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, The Phantom of the Opera. His ability to transform himself using makeup techniques that he developed earned him the nickname, the Man of a Thousand Faces. He was born in Colorado Springs, Colorado. His father was a barber. His father was English and French ancestry. His mother was Scottish, English, and Irish. His maternal grandfather founded the Colorado School of Education for Mutes. Interesting. 1874. His parents... it's now the Colorado School for the Deaf and Blind. Oh, that's cool. Both his parents were deaf, and as a child of deaf adults, Chaney became skilled in pantomimes. He entered a stage career in 1902 and began traveling with vaudeville and theater acts. In 1905, at 22, he met and married singer Cleva Clayton, who was 16 at the time, and then they had a child who was Lon Chaney Jr., who was also an actor. So that's pretty crazy if you think about it, because vaudeville's gone, but vaudeville was stage performances before film and TV, and it was a place where people could go. It was fairly cheap, you could go and watch a show, which again with that's the beginning, with vaudeville. Everybody, all those actors were trying to make a living some way, and vaudeville was the way to do it. And I'm always just fascinated. They should bring vaudeville back in some way or another. I guess it's still there with going to stage plays. Marital problems developed in 1913. Cleva went to the Majestic Theater in downtown Los Angeles, where Lon was managing a show, and attempted suicide by swallowing chloride. The suicide attempt failed, but it ruined her singing career. Ensuring scandal and divorce forced Chaney out of the theater and into film. And I'm sure that there was a lot of scandal, and that now nobody cares too much about scandal unless you're, I don't know, even shooting somebody on a set doesn't seem to get you fired. So, I wonder if the Majestic is still there downtown Los Angeles, because on Broadway downtown Los Angeles there's still quite a few old theaters. It's still a sketchy area, but what's interesting about downtown Los Angeles, what's interesting about LA is there's no central point in LA, but at the time in the 1930s or so, there was a central place because that's where all the big theaters were, and they would have the opening of these movies. The time spent between the years of 1912 and 1917 are not clear. Chaney worked under contract for Universal Studios in bit parts. His skill with makeup gained him more parts and highly competitive casting atmosphere. During this time, Chaney befriended the director of Joe DeGrassi and Ida Park, who gave him roles in pictures and further encouraged him to play macabre characters. In 1950, Chaney married one of his former colleagues, a recently divorced chorus girl named Hazel. Weren't they all named Hazel? The new couple gained custody of Chaney's 10-year-old son, who had resided in various homes and boarding schools since Chaney's divorce, that's pretty sad. I gotta look up the wife also. That's interesting. 1917, Chaney was a prominent actor in studios, but his salary did not reflect his status. When Chaney asked for a raise, studio executive told him, "You'll never be worth more than $100 a week." After leaving the studio, Chaney struggled for the first year. It was not until he played a substantial role in a William Hart film that his talent as a character actor was truly recognized. So that is pretty cool. He's at the beginning of film, and then is playing all these parts, finds what he's going to do. Ray Bradbury once said that Chaney was someone who acted out of psyches. He somehow got into the shadows inside our bodies. He was able to nail down some of the secret fears and put them on screen. The history of Lon Chaney is the history of unequated loves. So this is the first guy, and it's also, you're seeing films for the first time, and then you're seeing horror films for the first times. And so this is a guy that is playing to the horror film genre that we all know now. But this is the first guy that's doing that and playing into people's fears. And he looked like it kind of looks like a, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of guy. In the final 5 years of his film career, Chaney worked exclusively under contract to MGM, giving some of the most memorable performances. His portrayal of a tough-as-nails Marine drill sergeant, Tell It to the Marines, 1926. One of his favorite films earned him the affection of the Marine Corps, who made him their first honorary member of the motion picture industry. He was filming the movie Thunder in 1929. He developed pneumonia. In 1929, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. This was from artificial snow lodged in his throat during the filming, or something chemical. But I'm sure that there was a lot of smoking and drinking involved also for that time. He is buried at Forest Lawn in Glendale. He's actually in one of the locked areas, but his crypt does not have any markings on it. And I really wish that they would open up there's certain areas in Glendale that are locked. And it'd be nice if maybe once a year or something like that. This guy's been gone close to 100 years, almost 100 years. Let's sell some tickets to this. Get it going. Anyways, like, subscribe, tell me who else you want me to see. I appreciate everybody listening to Famous Graves Podcast.